Hey, welcome to the series of everything you need to know about Python in simplest possible way. In the series of pattern printing, so far we have seen so many patterns. In this video, we will see how we can actually print this particular pattern. So if you could carefully observe this pattern, here in the left side, we are having these ones presented like this. So it was starting with ones and keep going 2, 3, 4 and ended up with 5. So we can actually take input from the user and we can actually do accordingly and print accordingly this particular pattern. So for the time being, observe this pattern. We are having these ones in like a C shape and we are going increasing these values in the C shape from left to right. So let's go ahead and see how we can actually print this particular pattern. So to print this particular pattern, we will divide this whole pattern into new two patterns. One is upside pattern and another one is downside pattern. So by doing so, we will print this particular pattern up and down and we will combine both of them and we will get the whole pattern. So to print up pattern, what I will be doing is that first I will take a variable rows. So to I am taking this part, so I will print this part first, later we will go and print this below pattern. So first, for to keep track of these rows I am taking a variable rows because, and I will take the values of rows with 5 because if you could carefully see here, we are having 5 rows here. For that reason, I am taking value of rows as 5. Later, what I will be doing is that if you could carefully observe this pattern, apart from these numbers, we are also having spaces before actually coming to these numbers. So before actually printing these particular spaces, then only we need to print these numbers. For that, what I will be doing is that I will take a spaces variable and I will assign this with rows minus 1 because to keep track of these spaces before these particular numbers, I am taking this spaces variable. And if you could carefully see in this first row, we are having one position with this number and remaining 1, 2, 3, 4. These four positions are filled with spaces. For that reason, I am taking a spaces variable with rows minus 1 to keep track of these spaces initially as rows minus 1. So later what I will be doing is that to generate these many number of rows, I will use a for loop. That is what we generally do when we want to execute a repeated statement. So we wanted to generate 5 rows here. For that reason only I am using a loop which is for loop for I in range. Now we need to generate a range of values. So what are the range of values that we are going to generate? So if you could carefully observe this, we are starting with 1 in the first row. In the second row we have 2 values. In the third row we have 3 values. Like that, the number of values in each row is increasing. For that reason, I will start with 1 because in the first row I have only one value. For that reason, I am starting with 1 and I am going till rows plus 1 because we have 5 rows, right? So to get this 5, I need to mention rows plus 1, which is 5 plus 1. So by this range function, we will stop at rows. For that reason, I am taking rows plus 1. Later, what I will be doing in the for loop is that to know what values we have in I will just print this particular I variable here. So if I execute this, I can able to get these values, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's fine. So if you could carefully compare this particular I values with this particular above pattern, so you can able to observe that in the last column, which is of this, we are having the values as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So by using this I value, if you could start with value 1 and go till the value of I, we can able to get this particular pattern. So I hope that makes sense. So let us go ahead and see how we can do that. So if you could carefully observe this, in each of these rows, we are having some specific amount of values. In the first row, we have 1. In the second row, we have 2. In the third row, we have 3. Like that, the number of values in each row are increased by a specific number. So these are repeating, right? So these rows are repeating. For that, what we do when we have a repeated statement, we generally use loops, right? So that is what I will be doing in here also. In this for loop, I will use one more for loop. I will use j here in range. Now we will generate a range of values. So the question is, what are the range of values that we are generating here? So if you could carefully observe, and here we are having with 1 and we are going till the value of I, which is what I have printed in here. So we are starting with 1 and we are going till the value of I, and we can able to get this particular values. So for that reason I am starting with 1 and I am going till the value of I. For that reason I am mentioning I plus 1. So in this for loop, what I will be doing is that instead of printing this I value, I will print j value. So if I execute this, I can able to get the result as 1 which is present in first row, 1 2 which is present in second row, 1 2 3 which is present in third row, 1 2 3 4 which is present in fourth row, 1 2 3 4 5 which is present in fifth row. Like that we are getting the values. The only thing we need to do in here is that we need to arrange these values so that we can able to get this particular above pattern. So let's go ahead and arrange these values. So what I will be doing now is that I will use a paint parameter with this single space. By default, this print having this end parameter as new line character. For that reason, we are getting each of these values in the new line. So if I replace with space, what I will be getting is that I will get every value in a single line itself. So that is what I will be getting. So still this is not what we wanted, right? So for that, what I will be doing is that after completion of this inner for loop, I will use a print. So by using this print, we can actually divide this 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 after each of these inner for loop. So now if I execute this, we can actually get this particular pattern, which is every line is a new line. So like that we are getting this particular thing. But this is not what exactly that what we wanted. We want like this, right? So if you remember what I have mentioned previously, before actually printing these spaces, we cannot actually printing this particular numbers here. For that reason, what I will be doing is that after once I have entered into this inner for loop, which is not inner for loop, outer for loop, I will use a print statement and I will print spaces here, because before printing these numbers we need to print spaces, right? So for that reason, as and when I enter into this outer for loop, I will print spaces. So to keep track of these spaces, we have this spaces variable, right? So for that I will mention spaces and I will use this end parameter with nothing. So because by default this end parameter will be having new line and I don't want a new line, so for that reason I am mentioning with nothing. So after that, what I will be doing is that if you could carefully observe this pattern of spaces, these spaces are reducing on each iteration. So for that reason, what I will be doing is that after completion of this inner for loop, I will reduce these spaces with 1. So now if I execute this, so I can able to get this particular above pattern. I hope you can able to understand of how we are getting this above pattern. If not, I will sincerely suggest you to go through this video once again. So now we will go ahead and print this particular below pattern. So to print this particular below pattern, what I will be doing is that as like in the above pattern we have observed, in the below pattern also we are having these four rows here. So first we will print these four rows and later we will print the values on each row and we will get this below pattern. So for that what I will be doing is that I will use a for loop to generate rows here. So for we have used I, we have used j. Now I will be using k in range. Now we will generate a range of values. So the question is, what are the range of values that we will be generating now? So as you can observe here, we are starting with in this first row we are having four values. In the second row we are having three values. In the third row we have two values. In the last row we have one value, which means that we need to start with rows minus 1 and go till the value of 1. So for that, what I will be mentioning is that rows minus 1 and we need to go till the value of 1. For that, I am mentioning 0, which will stop at value 1. So on each iteration, I am reducing with minus 1. So what we will be doing in this for loop is that first let us know what values we are having in k. So if I execute this, I can able to get 4, 3, 2, 1. As like we have started with 1 and go till the value of I in the above pattern, in here also we need to start with 1, go till the value of k, so that we can able to get this particular pattern which is of below here. So for that I will be using a one more for loop L in range. So now what are the range of values that we will be generating? So as discussed previously, we need to start with 1, go till the value of k. For that, I am using 1 and k plus 1 here. So inside of this, what I will be doing is that instead of printing this k, I will print the value of L here. So by printing L, we can actually get whole values here. So now if you carefully see here, we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and 1 here. So like that we can able to get this below values. The only reason we need to do is that we need to arrange these values so that we can actually get the whole pattern. So for that, as we have discussed previously, I need to put a end parameter with a space here, and after that I need to print a new line character, which is nothing but a simple print after completion of this inner for loop. So now if I execute this, we can able to get this particular pattern, but that is not what we wanted, right? So we need to print spaces before actually printing this particular numbers. So here I will mention a print statement to print spaces here. So I am printing spaces here, and I will mention this end parameter with nothing. So after that, what I will be doing is that I will increase these spaces with 1 on each iteration. That is what here happening, right? Here we have 1 space, here we have 2 space, here we have 3 spaces. So now if I execute this, I can able to get some pattern, but that is not what exactly we wanted. Here, these spaces are not getting before these particular numbers because we are using these spaces that what we have used in previous pattern. So we need to do some modification to the spaces variable so that we can actually get these spaces before these numbers. So let us first know what values we are having in these particular spaces. So for that, I am printing spaces here. If I execute this, I can able to get the result as -1. So by after completion of this whole for loops, we are having the spaces as -1. So we need to get a single space here, right? So in order to get a single space, if we increase this -1 values with 2 times, which results 1, right? So -1 plus 1, which is 0, 0 plus 1, which is 1, so that we can able to get a single space here. So for that, what I will be doing is that I will increase these spaces with 2 here. So I will just comment this, and if I execute this, we can able to get the whole pattern. So I will remove this comment also. So I hope you can able to understand this logic to generate this particular pattern. So if you got any confusion to generate this pattern, I sincerely suggest you to go through the video once again carefully so that you can able to understand and get this particular pattern. So now what we will be doing is that we will dynamically take input of rows from the user and print accordingly. So for that, I am using input. I am asking user to enter rows here. So now if I execute this and it was asking me to enter rows, if I give let's say 6 here, so we can able to see the result starting with 1 going till the value of 6 here. So next, if I give let's say value is 9, we can able to see the result 1 and going to the right side and ended up with number 9 here. So I hope you have understood this logic to generate this kind of a pattern, which is any number given by the user we can able to print the pattern. So if you found this video interesting, hit the like button. In the next video, we will see how we can actually print this particular pattern. It is starting with 1 and going to the right side, which is of ended up with 5 and top and bottom here. So we will see how we can print this particular pattern in the next video. So to stay updated, subscribe to this channel, hit the turn on notifications to all so that whenever I upload any video, you will get the notification. So thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.